Now, women in the Philippines, if you travel to the Philippines, the vast majority of women in the large cities can speak English. That is a big difference because that is not true in Ukraine. There are some women who can speak English in Ukraine. There are many, many more who can speak it in the Philippines. Jerry says, having worked and known both women from the Philippines and Ukraine, are there any similarities between the women or are they totally different? You know what? Great question. How do the women of Ukraine compare to the women of the Philippines? In some ways, they're very, very different. Women in Ukraine, almost all of them are very educated. Women in the Philippines are smart. More what you call street smart, I guess. More what you call everyday smart. But certainly smart. They may or may not have an opportunity for education in the Philippines. Some do, and some don't. But the women in Ukraine are definitely very, very educated and very sophisticated. The women in the Philippines are very down to earth. What you see is what you get, and that's also refreshing. Women in Ukraine typically come from very small families, one child, maybe two. Women in the Philippines come from large families. Women from Ukraine may be divorced after they met a guy and were married for a short time, got pregnant, and the guy bailed at some point because he wanted to bail. Women in the Philippines cannot get divorced. Divorce is illegal in the Philippines, which means their parents also don't get divorced, and they're raised in big, tight families. Ukrainian women are often raised by women who are single moms that are hardworking, that give them absolutely everything and all their resources. I would say women in Ukraine believe overall in the question of whether there is God. Many of them identify as Russian Orthodox in their faith. I don't know that they practice going to church a lot, even though some of them would really have no problem with that, and some do on holidays. But church services in Ukraine are very, very long. They haven't modernized very much. In the Philippines, I think you're more likely to meet women who have a definite, profound belief in God. They're Roman Catholic women. And I would say that's for what it's worth, those are really the only discernible differences. Now, women in the Philippines, if you travel to the Philippines, the vast majority of women in the large cities can speak English. That is a big difference because that is not true in Ukraine. There are some women who can speak English in Ukraine. There are many, many more who can speak it in the Philippines. And even the women who can't speak English in Ukraine will work with you to help you communicate. If you just download an app or two to use on your smartphone or work with a translator.
Join men from all over the world as they take a trip and find their future brides. Interested? Check out our website at cebuwomen.com. Don't forget to click on our red subscribe button and notice bell to get updated every time we add something new.